Patch 13.13c fixed a bunch of bugs and came out with nerfs of two of the strongest forecast carries in the game, which has shaken up the meta. Reroll comps now completely dominate, so you should make sure to keep an eye out for them. And in this video, I'll show you my tier list of the strongest comps, then take a look at each of the comps mentioned, and then I'll explain the best strategies to climb on this patch. The only S tier comp in the meta is Zed Reroll. This comp has the highest cap in the game, and if you high roll, you're pretty much guaranteed a top 2, and if you low roll, you still have a chance to win out as long as you hit Zed 3-star and have good augments. The only thing holding this comp back is that you can't play it without a proper opener, so don't try to force it every game. Freljord Akshan is a newer comp to the meta, but it is incredibly strong and consistent, farming top 4s easily if you have good items and augments. This comp also requires the right spot, as it really needs specific items like Runance and Deathblade, but overall, it is the best comp to default to with AD items. Noxus, Katarina, and Darius is the strongest win streak comp in the game. If you play this comp from ahead and you have good items, you're pretty much always guaranteed a top 4, and you can play for a top 2 with Katarina and Darius 3-star. Challengers drop out of S tier after the recent nerf to Kaisa, but they are still a very flexible comp that can top 4 consistently now that they're less contested. This comp really shines with +1 challenger though, as Senna, Heimer, and especially Bel'Veth with Challenger's Bat can be enough to win games. Vel'Koz Sona Reroll is the strongest sorcerer line in the current meta. This comp is capable of one-shotting entire boards if you hit both Vel'Koz and Sona 3 with good items and augments. The main issue with this comp is that it's hard to fit on the level 7 board without a sorcerer's bat, so it's hard to play from behind. 8 Void is still a great comp if you hit Stable Evolution or Void +1, but it's only playable if you hit one of these. And even if you do, you still have to hit Bel'Veth to reach Baron, and you need Bel'Veth 2-star to have a chance of outcapping boards like Zed, Akshan, and Noxus. Azir Lux Strategist is a solid comp in the meta, but due to the Lux nerfs and a bad matchup spread against the top comps, it's overly reliant on reaching level 8 and hitting 4 2-star forecasts, so you should really avoid this comp if you are behind. Kayle Reroll is the best one-cost reroll comp in the meta, but it's weaker than on the last patch, as the matchup spread onto the meta has gotten worse due to Zed and Multicasters becoming stronger. This comp also really requires you to hit on time, or you are headed for an 8th place, as you won't be able to add in Slayers and reach Gwen 2-star fast enough. Multicaster Taliyah is a niche 2-cost reroll comp that is incredibly strong with Double Treble, 2 Healthy, or Trickster's Glass, but it's only playable under these conditions. The other playable comps are Gunnar Zeri, Tristana Reroll, Bruiser Rek'Sai, Freljord Aphelios, Invoker Karma, and Jinx Reroll, but they're all on B tier or lower. And now let's get into my strategy for climbing on this patch. The two best options for legends on this patch are Ornn and Poro. Poro benefits from incredibly strong prismatics and good combat augments appearing more often, but because there are a lot of terrible augments as well, you sometimes get screwed over. Ornn is basically a failsafe for the times when you get offered bad options, but there's less of a chance to high roll something overpowered, as his augments are always decent but not fantastic. Other legends that are also playable are Vladimir, Asol, and Lee Sin. Lee Sin points you towards reroll comps like Kayle, Zed, Noxus, and Tristana, while Vladimir is the best flex play into forecast carries like Yasuo and Azir. Asol has a very distinct playstyle. You full open on stage 2 and try to conserve as much econ as possible to push for a fast level 8 and 9 to play around Bel'Veth 2-star as your main carry. In the early game, you should identify by stage 2-1 if you have a strong opener for a reroll comp. And if you get dropped a Zed, Darius, Katarina, or Akshan orb on stage 1, you should definitely look to play these comps as long as you have proper AD components for your carries, specifically gloves, swords, bows, and belts. When playing towards Noxus, you should always try to play from ahead, as the comp really benefits from getting early conquer stacks. Zed, Kayle, and Tristana are all comps that can reasonably play for a 5 loss streak on stage 2 as they're looking to spike their boards early on stage 3. In most games, you won't have immediate direction towards the top reroll comps, so you should try to remain flexible. You should default towards challengers, Akshan, Azir, or Zed in that case, and figure out what you are playing by stage 3. Make sure to scout to ensure you aren't contested by someone with a better spot if you want to play Zed and Akshan before pivoting in though, as these comps are much weaker when contested. Lastly, before you start playing, make sure to familiarize yourself with the broken augments on this patch and how to play around them with the help of meta TFT. Here are some of the strongest augments in the game based on the stats, with their average placements by stage and win rate shown. Augments that direct you towards specific comps have them listed next to them. Now let's take a deeper look into each comp. Our first one is Zed Reroll. Since this is a 2-cost reroll comp, you want to slow roll above 50 gold at level 6 until you hit Zed 3-star. Set 3-star and Kled 3-star are nice bonuses, but they are not necessary for the success of the comp, while Darius is a waste of money. Katarina 3-star is a common win condition for this comp, so try to go for it if you can. Once you hit the 3-stars at level 6, push levels 7 and 8 for more Slayers, and ideally itemize Gwen 2-star as a late game bonus carry. If you manage to get a Slayer spot, always put it on Katarina, as it gives her both healing and a ton of damage. Zed's only mandatory item is IE, as he needs to make sure his spell crits, as he has the innate crit from his Ionia bonus. Jeweled Lotus is a good substitute. His other items want to be healing items, either Hodge or PT, and a damage item, preferably Titans. After you itemize Zed, itemize Katarina with AP items you have, and put tank items on set. Utility items like Saffron Shroud are amazing in this comp, so build them if you already have Zed and Cat items. The next comp is Akshan Reroll. This is a 3-cost reroll comp, so you should slow roll at level 7 for Akshan 3 and Lissandra 3-star. If you are contested though, consider going level 8 after upgrading your frontline and hitting Akshan 2-star. This board is pretty flexible with its frontline and Shurima units, so try to fit Cassante, Shen 2-star, Nasus 2-star, and Sion if you hit them and you're able to spike your board with them. Akshan's whole power budget is in his ult, so Deathblade is his best item to make his ult stronger, but you can get away without it if you have long distance pals or social distancing. Runance is his most important item, as it procs off his ult and hits the backline. Any other AD items will do otherwise, like IE and Giant Slayer, but it's best to go for double Runance or double Deathblade. Itemize Sejuani as your main tank, and itemize Lissandra as a secondary carry with AP items, especially if you can hit Lissandra 3-star. Next up is Noxus Reroll. This is a 3-cost reroll comp, so you want to slow roll at level 7 for Darius 3 and Katarina 3. If you are ahead and have a bunch of money, try to go for Kled 3 and Swain 3 as well. Noxus stacks are very important, so you want to make sure you level to 6 on stage 3 too, and stabilize your board to start winning there. Always reroll for 6 Noxus, but you can also roll for Cat 2 and Darius 2 if you have pairs or are weak. You want to play a Juggernaut like Warwick, Nasus, or Aatrox at level 7, and drop Cassio for Sion when you hit him. Play Jarvan, Senna, or a Rogue at level 8, and if you have a Noxus spat, put it on Echo and reroll for Echo 3-star as well. Or you can put it on Azir and play Cassio and Nasus for Shurima. Darius' best item are a healing item like Hodge or BT, plus 2 damage items like Titans, i.e. Giant Slayer and Last Whisperer. Katarina wants Spark, AP items like JG, Deathcap, and Guardbreaker, and a healing item like Hodge or Gunblade. Next we have Challengers. This is a 4-cost comp, which means you should roll down at level 7 on either stage 3-5 or 4-1 to stabilize your board, then try to push for level 8. Set and Shen are interchangeable on this board, but you will usually end up with Set since Shen is expensive, even though he's slightly better. 6 Challenger is generally better than 6 Ionia, unless you have Sentinel Spirit or +1 Ionia, because Kaisa doesn't benefit from Ionia, and you can fit legendaries like Heimer and Senna much easier there. If you get a Challenger spot, you should look to be capping out around Belvith, as she is by far the best holder. Her best items are RFC, Edge of Night, and QSS. If you can't get Belvith, putting the spot on Gwen, Senna, or Heimer is also very good. After the Kaisa nerfs, you should be prioritizing Yasuo items in this comp if possible, especially since he's overly reliant on perfect items. His most important item is Edge of Night to avoid getting one-shotted, then damage items like Deathblade, i.e. Hodge, Giant Slayer, and Runance. RFC is still decent on him, but it's much worse this patch because there are more melee carries dominating the meta. Kaisa's most important item is Sojin to make sure she casts multiple times per fight. Otherwise, you want damage items like Deathcap, Guardbreaker, and JG. Next up is Vel'Koz Sona Reroll. This is a 3-cost reroll comp, so you once again prefer to slow roll at level 7 for Vel'Koz, Sona, and Swain 3. However, if you are ahead, you should try to consider going level 8, as you can't fit 4 sorcerers, as you can't fit 4 Sork without Sork or Multicaster +1 at level 7. Dropping Taric is not that bad though, so if you aren't way ahead, just roll at level 7 or pivot to a different comp like Strategist if you are behind. Spark is the most important item in this comp. Without it, the comp does no damage. Shiv is not a good substitute. Vel'Koz and Sona share similar itemization. They both want mana items, preferably Sojin, so that they can cast as early as possible to wipe the board. Any damage items like JG, Guardbreaker, Giant Slayer, and Deathcap are great on them, and Gunblade is a great option to heal up your frontline. 8 Void is only playable with Stable Evolution or Void +1. If you get neither of these, just pivot off into a different comp, which is usually Strategists. If you manage to hit +1 Void, you should always play this board with a spot on Yasuo, and if you have Stable Evolution, play 6 Void and reroll Vel'Koz and Rek'Sai 3-star, or push levels aggressively and play legendaries. Usually, you should roll down at level 6 on stage 3-2 to start or continue the win streak, and use that tempo to push for a fast 8 to start rolling for Belvith, as hitting 8 Void is the main priority. Kaisa's best items are Deathcap, Morello, Sojin, Guardbreaker, and Archangels. Static Shiv is unnecessary late game since Baron provides Shred, but it's fine as an early game slam. Bel'Veth's best items is RFC, as she scales incredibly well with range and attack speed. Otherwise, give her utility items like Edge Knight and QSS, or healing items like Hodge and BT. Our next comp is Strategist Azir. This is a 4-cost carry comp, so you should reroll at level 7 on 3-5 or 4-1. Drop Teemo until you hit level 8, and this board is completely static, so you should only ever drop units if you're dropping Talia for K'Sante 2-star, or Teemo for legendaries like Sion 2, Senna 2, or Heimer 2. Itemize whichever carry you have items for, or 2-star first, but you want to end up with 3 items on both carries, as well as a 3-item tank. Nasus is by far the best tank compared to Jarvan, and it's better if he gets the Shurima Ascension. The main priority for this comp is to have Magic Shred, which can be either Spark on Nasus or Jarvan, or Shiv on Azir, but Spark is much better. Azir's other best items are RFC, Gunblade, Guardbreaker, Deathcap, and Archangels. Lux's best items are Sojin, Gunblade, JG, and Deathcap. Put the Demacia item on either Jarvan or Lux, depending on whether you need more damage or frontline. Next up is Kayle Reroll. This is a 1-cost reroll comp, which means save all your gold on stage 2 and hype roll down to about 30 gold on stage 3-1, then slow roll at level 5 until you hit your 3 stars. You must hit Poppy, Maokai, and Kayle 3-star before moving on. Play Kled and a Demacia unit at level 5, which is usually Sona until you hit Jarvan. Add in Teemo at level 6 once you hit your 3 stars to get 4-star Poppy. Then push levels for more Slayers. Drop Teemo for Heimer when you hit him, and drop Zed for Aatrox. Kayle needs Rageblade to function. Her second item prefers to be another Rageblade or RFC, but you can also go with Giant Slayer or Gunblade. Edge of Night can also be good depending on the lobby, and you can also put a third item on her, and leave the Demacia item for Poppy depending on your components. Itemize Gwen as a secondary carry once you've itemized Kayle and Poppy. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want cheat sheets for any of my comp guides, they're available for you to members and patrons, and the links to join those are down in the description. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 9,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.